everyone, my name is Luna and I'm here to break down everything that happened in episode 4 of Age of Umbra, The Rampart and Beyond. Firstly, I just want to apologize for missing last week's breakdown. It was like the final week of my studies this semester. It just ended up being completely swamped and crammed. So again, my apologies, and hopefully that won't happen again. With that said, we pick up with the party on the sunken rampart, a massive wall that once surrounded Amber Reach, but sections of it have now fallen down into the Ashen Seas with these sort of makeshift bridges constructed by travelers who've come before. It's dark and it's raining and it's cold. As the rain continues to pour down, things get more and more precarious and they hear a strange howling or screeching sound coming out of the darkness. They begin to move more quickly, led by August with a critical success, but the sounds continue to come closer so they extinguish their torches. Brixton, with a good instinct roll, can tell that there are two creatures and they are communicating. Love a Jurassic Park reference, anytime. They reach a point of the rampart which has completely broken away, the makeshift bridge that was across the gap having broken, and while they work out what to do, they hear a creaking of iron above them. August flies up to investigate and sees an iron cage suspended above the rampart, and inside, a new face.
A very small girl with pale white skin and pale white hair. Her dress looks kind of nice, but is tattered. And she's looking at you very innocently. Hello?
I have to warn you, it really hasn't been that long since a young girl turned into a giant black ooze monster, so I'm going to be a bit careful right now.
I'm not a giant ooze monster.
We'll be the judge of that. What's your name?
I'm Adelia. What's your name?
August. Pleasure.
We both start with A.
Huzzah! Laura Bailey has joined the table once again. I'm obsessed with her choice to play a little girl because it feels extremely targeted towards Travis, which I love, and I'm also just very much enjoying the accent that Laura has chosen for Adelia. Adelia is a sorcerer, which, like in D&D, is a class that has innate magic that they can learn to wield in powerful ways. The Sorcerer's Hope feature is volatile magic. They can spend 3 hope to reroll any number of damage dice on a magic attack, and they have 3 class features: Arcane Sense, which is like a permanent sort of detect magic, Minor Illusion, which can make a minor illusion, and Channel Raw Power, which allows a sorcerer to place one of their domain cards into their vault and gain hope or a bonus to a damage roll equal to the level of the card. We haven't seen the players use their loadout and vault yet because they are low level, but essentially loadout is the term given to the domain cards a player is actively using, and the vault contains ones they are not using. As characters level up in Daggerheart, they will start to gain more and more domain cards, and there'll be more that can fit in their loadout, so that's when you'd start to see that sort of swapping in and out of domain cards come into play. It's kind of like how in D&D some magic users will have a list of spells that they can prepare from, so they'll only prepare a certain number of spells per day. Adelia's subclass is Primal Origin, which we know because we saw her use the Manipulate Magic feature when she marked Distress to hit a second target with her spells. We also later learn one of her experiences, which is Pure Imagination, which Laura says is the power to disassociate, which makes sense for a child seeing absolutely nightmarish things in the world. It's quite whimsical, but also like deeply depressing. August asks Adelia why she's in a cage, and she says that a very holy man put her in there, and her friend in another cage nearby, and he could probably get the lock open. As they are talking, the creatures stalk closer, so Snyx yells at August to hurry up and starts slamming into the bolt with his crowbar, smashing it and sending the cage to the ground, the door swinging open to free Adelia. As this happens, August flies over to the other cage and meets Adelia's friend, Screeve.
Something is standing in the cage, waking in the cage.
Oh boy.
Delia!
Oh no.
Who are you?
Screeve.
That's my name. What's yours?
I'm August. You come recommended.
Oh, by whom? Adelia, did you recommend me? That's awful nice of you.
Before the two can properly be acquainted though, one of the creatures leaps up onto the cage. It's a tiger-sized creature with bulging, pale, fleshy eyes, a red snout filled with teeth, and a round back covered in fur and spines. The party engage in combat, with Idol using his bolt beacon, Brixton smashing into the creatures with both her sword and her tusks, which is one of her ancestry features. They both roll quite well, but Matt interrupts.
I'm gonna spend a fear to take the spotlight, even though you had succeeded on my end there.
You can do that?
Oh yeah, do that. I just haven't had the necessary.
Illegal.
That is literally one of the main.
Book right now.
Go for it. I'm a GM moves, buddy.
That's right, one of the things that GMs can do with fear is interrupt the players to make a move. It's a way for the GM to jump in if the players are rolling very well, and that way you can increase the tension. Matt spotlights the pain beasts and they attack with their spines and venomous tail, a hit which Brixton negates using 2 armor slots so she can avoid being poisoned. From within the cage, Screeve casts Enrapture on the pain beast, and Liam gives us a description of his new character.
There is a gaunt motherfucker inside this cage, all bent up in a pretzel like I am now, with scraggly white hair on one side shaved, wrapped in leather and black cloth strips all over his body, except for a big diamond titty window right here.
Yes.
A silver ring threaded through the flesh of his chest. And arms are bare, and there are little rings, silver rings in his flesh there as well. And
Bring out the gimp.
he starts banging his hands on the inside of the cage, and you see there's like little black gloves or something, but you hear metal hitting metal, and he says, "Hikity-kitty-kitty-kitty."
I'm sorry, but Liam is having way too much fun with this character. He's going full Erika Ishii with that gargoyle pose on the chair.
I like perching, like a little gargoyle.
August frees Screeve from the cage by casting an ice spike inside the lock, and just as Screeve steps out, the pain beast charges into him and swipes him off the edge of the rampart down into the water below. Adelia throws her doll Violet into the water to save him, but then calls to Screeve to save Violet, which he immediately obeys. It's clear that Screeve really values what Adelia says and does try and do what she says. He even refers to himself as her pet at one point. Snix looks on to Screeve being hurled into the water, and
I just seeing someone fall off a ledge brings back painful memories of watching a dear friend of mine fall.
your doggo.
A deer? A friend of yours that was a deer?
My sweet baby, my Whomper.
Aw, we still don't know what kind of creature Wampa was. Something very big, at least, since Snix is able to wear his collar as a belt. Hopefully we will find out. With this memory of his friend fresh in his mind, Snix stakes a rope into the rampart and dives into the water after Screeve, helping him back up onto the rocks and the ruins below. Misty steps in front of Adelia to protect her, taking a blow from the pain beast and marking a stress, and she retaliates with wild flames.
Misty, how do you want to do it?
All right, sort of seeing this young girl and that. I am just gonna sort of move a little bit in front of the little girl and sort of put my hands out and just let the flames come out.
You watch as the pain beast flies off and splashes into the water. You see it tries to scramble up, but is not a strong swimmer, as eventually the surf below takes it into darkness.
The other pain beast, seeing its mate die, pounces on Misty in response, and August spends 6 hope, which is quite a lot, to send an arcane barrage at it as Screeve launches onto its back, stabbing into it. Screeve is a rogue, and his hope feature is Rogue's Dodge, where he can spend 3 hope to gain a +2 bonus to evasion. Rogues also have the features Cloaked, which is an improved sort of hidden ability, and Sneak Attack, which, just like in D&D, grants an additional d6 of damage when the rogue is cloaked or an ally is next to the target. Screeve is a Nightwalker rogue, which has the feature Shadow Stepper, allowing him to mark a stress to disappear into one dark spot and reappear in another. That's kind of a feature that we actually saw that Lordna had as part of her Shadow Sorcery. As Screeve tries to stab through the pain beast's thick armor, Snix uses his Caprine Leap to jump on the creature as well, and Idol gets the "how do you want to do this?"
I'll just see it jump up and say, and the bolt beacon will fire out and light it up and just start to burn it from toe up to head.
You catch it in the middle of the air as it leaps towards the wall. As you fire off, it impacts it halfway through the air, and you watch as it kind of folds, and as opposed to a landing graceful pounce into a stop, it just tumbles into ash and burns away from divine fire.
In the aftermath of the fight, they ask Adelia and Screeve why they were in those cages, and Adelia tells them that something bad happened to her family, and so she hid and then ran away, and she met Screeve underneath Amber Reach. They've been together for about a year now, and Adelia is only 9 years old. A holy man called Sanctifar came of a group called the Enlightened, and was preaching that he could return people to the gods.
Yes, we went on a bit of a hike out of town, and we went to the waterside, and there was a big hullabaloo. There was a big sermon on the mount, you know, lots of light and razzle-dazzle.
It was really fun.
Yes.
Quite a show.
That sounds amazing.
And then at night we didn't go to sleep, because so often we don't go to sleep, do we? No. And we saw Sanctifer throwing some sacks into the water.
I think they were the people he converted. We saw them being taken in his show, and then I think he was killing them.
It was sort of like a magic act.
So we were going to tell people.
Sanctifer locked them in the cages to stop them from telling people what they had seen, and Brixton says that it's silly to die to join the gods, as the gods probably walk among them, but won't share with Adelia and Screeve why she thinks so. Idle interjects saying that they should move on, and as they do, Brixton explains that they are looking to relight the sacred pyre at Despelok. Pushing through the night, they arrive at Valkuru at dawn. It is a multi-tiered city built into an old watchtower with their sacred pyre burning at the very top of it. As they approach the city walls, the guard begin to tense up and point their crossbows at the group. This is not exactly a very welcoming place, but Brixton speaks up and sort of speaks their case.
We come in peace. We hail from Desperlock. I am Pyrekeeper Brixton. Our settlement is in grave need of aid. We have lost our sacred flame. Please, may we speak to your leaders?
The Barons.
We need to speak to the Barons.
They are approached by a male elf with dark red hair, and he's clearly seen a lot of battles as one of his ears is torn off and his face is heavily scarred. He asks what happened to Despelok, and Brixton explains how Aaron was infected by the Umbra. At this, the guards become more on edge and are even further aggravated when Misty steps up and speaks. The man calls her a cursed vessel, and the soldiers begin wrapping their ears with cloth, presumably to try and block out her songs. Misty says, though, that she's only here to help her community, and Brixton says that they have some ancient artifacts to trade, which is very interesting because this is sort of a hub of trade. The man considers for a moment and then says it's for the Baron to decide, and so he goes to fetch her. These cats. After some time, Baron Lothacharis approaches. She is an elder elf with dark auburn hair and an ancient mantle, which is clearly from before the Age of Umbra. The Baron says that the group can rest outside of the town and will be granted the guards' protection, but she will not let them in as the risk of an Umbra infection or of them being deceptive is too great. She says that a trader will come out to do business with them, and the group sort of concede and agree. They settle down to rest and await the trader. Screeve, a sly-born man himself, looks around for anyone shifty and spots a fisherman hiding in a bush watching them intently. He goes over and says he has coin for any information about getting into the city. The fisherman says that he can't get them into the city, but he can smuggle out some special goods such as snap powder, which is sort of a quick fix drug, I suppose, that allows you to heal a hit point by marking a stress. Screeve also asks him to bring out some toys, and the man returns with a whistle, which Screeve gives to Adelia. The group take a long rest, with Adelia and August choosing to take the prepare action together.
Now, what I do is I start to pull a little bit of thread out of my mouth. It goes. I tie it off, and then I start wrapping it around my fingers.
Do you have any extra thread?
Jacob's ladder.
It's a cat's cradle is what it's
Cat's
called.
cradle.
So I bring it over. Thought you might like something to play with. Now, flip it through, put your finger through the third one, both sides, and pull apart.
Cool.
I can't. It's stuck.
Okay, I'm gonna have to cut that one. I don't know how you did that.
I have a feeling that Adelia and August are going to get along well. They just seem to share a pretty similar vibe, I don't know. Eventually, a trader comes to meet with the group called Keegan. Brixton offers the war scythe that they took from the Gate Guardian in the Luzal Monastery in exchange for some information and aid for Despelok. After consulting with the Barons, Keegan returns and gives the party enough provisions for the trip, a recipe for a minor stamina potion, and the promise of aid for Despelok, with a group of soldiers being prepared and sent out to help the town until the group returns, hopefully with a blessed branch. He also gives them some information about the tomb they are traveling to and the person who was buried there.
In the years after the apostasy, Elviar rose as a holy warrior without sight, but instead supposed vision of the path the gods took when they left. It was said her smile gave a golden glow, and her face, it says in quotes, her face is the threshold to salvation. A following began to gather around her in the wake of the gods' absence, and her promise of following the gods to their heavenly realms beyond this domain. The following began to grow to where the grand ordinance that remained behind didn't like them drawing the flock from their faith. And thus she was branded a heretic by the remaining ordinance and executed, her eyes and face removed, and her body sealed within the tomb you speak of. The branch was laid with her, in hopes of keeping her corrupt spirit bound away.
So as a bit of background, the Grand Ordinance were those who worked for the god king Aetherius, who attempted to take the power of the gods for himself, so it sort of makes sense that they would not want any other sort of holy figures arising. They would want this god king Aetherius to sort of be the supreme. And I know that it's a separate universe, but I can't help but draw some connections to Exandria. Like, this Elia figure makes me think of the Matron of Ravens and how, you know, she was the face that one beheld before going on to the afterlife, which sounds kind of like what Elia was proclaiming to be. And also the God King Aetherius certainly does have some connections to Campaign 3, which I won't spoil here in case there's people still watching it. Well, not connections, but some parallels, I suppose. After their rest, the group leave Valkuru and start heading through the Screaming Forest, a place made up of twisted trees with no leaves and eerie sounds whipping through their branches. August begins to get more agitated as this is where the hive that he escaped from is located, well, he and Misty, and his anxiety increases when a low buzzing noise fills the air. Idle finds a place in the undergrowth for them to hide, and the buzzing sound diminishes. However, the undergrowth is not empty and is the home to some little fungus creatures. I don't think that they were necessarily fungrels, which is an actual ancestry option in Daggerheart. I think they were maybe more of like creatures. But Adelia is quite taken with them and gives one of them a scritch on the head. However, when it reaches for her doll...
And the one that you were kind of scritching kind of steps forward a little closer.
I don't trust it as much anymore.
It reaches for your doll.
Don't reach for Violet. Violet is very shy.
Could we give it something else?
And it charges you.
The fungus creatures attack Adelia, who activates a rune ward to negate the damage, but the sounds of the battle draw a much larger fungus creature, a big papa fungus, a creature called the Rot Lord.
The Rot Lord reaches out with its massive arms, and as you look now, the clusters of fungus around it have discoloration of all types and sorts, but things hang and shift and move as it does, and you notice that parts of its body are comprised of other bodies. Yep. There are at least 4 other humanoid corpses that arms and legs dangle from its limbs, or partially or slowly being consumed and sent back to the nature around it from within, of which it grabs August and pulls you into its form.
A fight breaks out with the Rot Lord trying to envelop August, who can only be freed when the Rot Lord takes severe damage, and while he's enveloped he has to mark a stress for every time he does an action roll. Misty and Brixton do a tag team move where Misty casts Wild Flame and Brixton dips her sword into it, and they do enough damage to free August. However, Misty becomes enveloped as well until Screeve and Adelia team up to free her.
I fly up out of the water under its grundle and start clawing my way up and tearing away with my little mini iron claws.
Have you no decency?
I start at the grundle and I move up its belly and I go, and I can see stone. Girl, now! And I do a barrel roll into the water.
Do a barrel roll! Barrel rider.
This is the tag team.
Yeah, this is our tag
Are you
team.
tag
This is me
Yeah.
opening up its underbelly so that
I'm
All right.
gonna unleash chaos into its belly.
Let's go.
I make Violet do a barrel roll. And then I send magic from
Oh my
God!
Let's go.
I think the tag team moves are so fun, and it's great to see Laura and Liam in particular, like playing these characters with such a close relationship, like this again, you know, like they did with Vex and Vax, although this is kind of a much more messed up partnership. But yeah, the tag team also, it works, I think they clued on really quickly that it works really well to kind of get over those bigger damage thresholds because you're combining your damage into a single hit rather than sort of doing smaller hits that don't necessarily meet those thresholds. So yeah, it's like a really neat kind of combat tactic in those those situations. Inspired by all the tag teams, and I guess all the barrel rolls as well, Augustus Snicks team up as well, doing enough damage to take down the Rot Lord. However, during the fight, Matt has been running a countdown die, and it finally reaches 0, which means some new foes arrive.
Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, no.
The heavy buzz gets louder and louder. You begin to panic as you see 2 shapes flying overhead. 2 large sets of wings as you see these odd hornet-like creatures coasting overhead. Just the shadow is there at first. You're like, oh, they're like large bees or hornets, but you see legs dangling and arms and long, pointed, proboscis faces as they... You know these to be hive collectors, and they've taken note of your presence.
The hive collectors start throwing nets trying to capture their group, and they also use sleeping stings, but the group continue to fight back. Eventually, after Adelia unleashes chaos magic and does a severe hit on one of the hive collectors...
That finishes your go?
Does. Shit.
For mine, this one's going to activate and...
Oh no, it flew
Take
away.
off the battlefield with a full far run. And I'm
Wonder
going to
if
spend
he's
my
getting
last
friends.
fear
Yes.
to have this one.
Oh no.
We won.
And take off
We really
We
didn't.
need to hide.
that way.
This is bad. This is very, very bad.
So it looks like the party are probably going to be in trouble from more hive collectors next week, and I am honestly pumped for it. I mean, Talazar knew this was coming by giving Matt such a juicy backstory to work with. Even though it would be bad for the party, I kind of hope that they get captured and we get to see inside the hive, because I really want to know what kind of creature Mother is, and I want to see more of where August came from. I'm assuming Mother is like a giant, big, scary wasp that's going to have like some pretty scary combat powers, so that'll be fun. It's also great to have Laura and Liam at the table again. I know some people speculated that they would be waiting in the wings for a character to die and then sort of step in as a replacement. I think that would have been really cool, but it is just fun to have the whole gang at the table again nonetheless. So, what do you think is going to happen next week? Let me know all your theories and predictions in the comments below. I can't wait to read all of them. They did say in the cooldown that they will be leveling up, so they're going to do that at the beginning of next session, and I'm looking forward to seeing what new abilities they choose. And also, very exciting, I'm seeing Critical Role live in a few days, and I'm very excited. I'm probably going to do a bit of a vlog or like a blog of my trip to the show, of the trip to my show. Wait. Of my trip to the show over on my Patreon. So there's a link in the description if you would like to sign up to support the channel. It's just $2 a month. A huge thank you to all of these folks right here. You are legends. All right, that's all. Bye.
I'm gonna walk over to the really tall spike that's on the rampart. I'm just gonna put my chin on it now that Adelia and Screeve are here. I'm just gonna hit my head. See you guys later.